Finance Minister P. Chidambaram has presented the interim budget for the year 2014-15. And to talk more on the interim budget, we are joined by Chairman PMEAC, Dr. C.Rangarajan. Sir, welcome to Doordarshan News, sir. So first of all, how do you analyze this budget, this interim budget by Mr. Chidambaram, given the fact it was an interim budget?
The budget has a clear direction and a good direction. Fiscal consolidation will get further strengthened. He has brought down the fiscal deficit for the current year to 4.6% of the GDP and has promised a fiscal deficit of 4.1% for the next fiscal. This is in line with the roadmap that he had given earlier for achieving or getting to the fiscal deficit of 3% of GDP by 2015-16. Only if we reduce the fiscal deficit by 0.5 percentage point every year, we would be able to reach that destination. But I think the most important message that comes through is that fiscal consolidation is on the top of the agenda.
How do you read the number of fiscal deficit of 4.1%? And the second factor is that do you still believe that the growth numbers, that is 4.9%, still would be achievable?
I think 4.9%, which is the advanced estimate given by the CSO, will be achieved. I mean, I have no doubts about it. If anything, it could be a shade even higher. Therefore, the question is, what will be the rate of growth of the economy next year? Okay. I think what is implicit in the numbers is a nominal growth in GDP of something like 13% or a little above 13%. But that can be done with a combination of something like 6% in real growth and about 6% inflation. That will give you a nominal growth of around 13%. I certainly think that the growth will accelerate next year. And the basic foundation has been laid in terms of stability of the fisc, taming of the inflation, bringing down the current account deficit. All these have been achieved, and therefore we can expect a further acceleration of growth in next year.
4.1% FD, would that be achievable?
I think so. I mean, it will require effort. I mean, I think nothing can be achieved without some serious efforts being made. Because one thing, revenues will grow as income grows. But after taking a look at the way the economy develops, if some revenue augmenting measures are required, it may also have to be taken.
Dr. Rangarajan, do you think there is a need for a sustainable revenue generation model as of now, given the fact the revenue deficit would be standing at somewhere around 2% for FY16?
Well, revenues will increase because of two factors. One, as income grows. And if income grows very strongly, then automatically revenue will grow even more strongly. Second, of course, some revenue augmenting measures will also be required. These will have to be considered as the economy evolves. Okay. But certainly growth itself, as I mentioned earlier, will generate larger amount of revenue. And in order to maintain the fiscal deficit of 4.1% and taking it further down, we need to focus attention on subsidies. Okay. Because the expenditures on health, education will keep increasing and the demands will actually increase even more. Therefore, the scope for curtailing those expenditures is very limited. In the case of subsidies, the idea was that it was at 2.3% of GDP a year ago. The roadmap is to take it down to 1.6% of GDP. That's what we should do. After fixing the total quantum of subsidies, we can prioritize subsidies. Going through the year, the next fiscal, the adjustment on diesel will be complete. Okay. And therefore subsidies on that account can come down.
So estimate for the agriculture sector has been pegged at 4.6%. Do you think that is satisfactory? And if in case you agree with that point, there is a satisfactory factor, do you think the inflation prices will come down or cool off because as the agriculture sector will start growing at the rate of 4.6%, sir?
4.6% is a highly respectable rate of growth. I mean, our average has been about 3.3, 3.2, 3.3%. So last year, in the current year, 4.6% rate of growth in agriculture would be an extremely good number. In fact, it could be even slightly higher. We had a good monsoon and well distributed, and therefore we are reaping the benefits of that. Of course, where the various actions taken could fructify because of the good monsoon also.
These rating agency would be watching this fiscal deficit number very closely. Now, do you think the opinion of this rating agency will be changing, and they might be very much positive as far as the Indian economy is concerned, sir?
The fact that fiscal deficit is brought down to 4.6% of the GDP, which is in fact even lower than the number indicated in the budget, as well as the determination to take the budget deficit to 4.1% of the GDP, must be a favorable factor. Okay. I think equally important will be the three dimensions of stability that I mentioned. Fiscal consolidation is happening. Current account deficit has come down quite sharply. It will be less than 2.5% of the GDP, and inflation is also coming down. Okay. Therefore, these are all the favorable factors, and which should encourage investment flowing into India, and I'm quite sure the rating agencies will take this into account.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rangarajan, for talking to DD News. So this was Dr. C. Rangarajan, Chairman PMEAC, talking exclusively to DD News. With camera person Surinder, Arun Sharma, Doordarshan News.